How do everyone? Good evening to you all. Got another story for you here, as per usual. This one's going back in time a little bit. 14th of November, this one, so just over a month ago. But it's that the title of it piqued my interest that much. I thought it'd be worth a read, and I thought people um, who may be viewing this and listening may be interested. As always, I'll put the link below in the description for the actual article itself, so please read away to make your own mind up. Don't just listen to what I'm saying or my opinions. I do encourage people. Obviously, I believe what I'm saying is true, and I believe my opinions are accurate opinions. But always make your own mind up, please, and please disagree with me if you feel compelled to do so. You have to excuse me drinking my brew and being a bit feral with the old tea sloshing off my face, but there we go. That's life, eh? No F's given here. And you got 4 kids, you stop caring so much, especially after you've been to Afghanistan and Iraq like I have. Anyway, let's crack on with this. Well, I don't even know what words to use, to be honest with you, to continue being polite. But here we go. Sorry, as I say, I'm not sponsored by the newspaper or anybody who does this. Please visit the site. Obviously, it gives them a bit of online traffic, which helps with their advertising revenue. It costs us nothing to do it. It only takes a couple of seconds of our time, and it helps them to keep doing the coverage that they do, so we can enjoy and consume these articles as we are doing. Anyway, as I was just about to say, let's crack on with the article. So, 7 members of Glasgow child sex ring found guilty of horror abuse. I think this is going to be a roller coaster of an article. 7 members of a child sex ring have been convicted of horror abuse of youngsters in a grim flat known as the Beastie House. I mean, that just sounds like proper jockanese, that calling something the Beastie House. So it does, like somebody from Ouija, Glasgow, for how they say it. I've got a feeling these are going to be what they'd call Neds, and that is for people in the rest of the UK call them chavs. I suppose I think they might call them Garys as well in Scotland. In America, they're just sort of like your I don't know, just your bums off the estate, you know, from you know like your just your ghetto scum, really, you know, your lousy like your meth heads and that, you know, that sort of dregs of society, um, just scumbags. Maybe proven wrong as the article goes, but I'm going with my gut feeling, and it tends to be bob on. So let's find out. By the way, and I always say this in all of my opinion pieces, and I'm going to say it again. These people should get a short drop with a swift stop, and by that I mean they should get a noose around the neck and hung until very, very dead. That is the only solution to these sorts of people. I don't believe they're redeemable. We put animals down for less. Why should we allow these monsters to live? That's not up for debate as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, let's carry on. 5 men and 2 women were found guilty after a harrowing 9-week trial at the High Court in Glasgow. 9 weeks, man, that's a serious crime. I mean, Scotland's a little bit different to England. I think I don't think they have common law like we do in England. I think they're on Roman law. I could be wrong. I know the High Courts, I think, called Sheriff's Courts. It's a bit. I don't fully understand the Scottish system. It's a little bit different. But anyway, that's a topic for another time. I'll probably look into that myself a bit so I can figure it out, because it's something I've always been a bit interested in learning about. Just because obviously we're connected to them, we're under the same judicial judicial processes and a lot of things, and a lot of the crossover with the law. So I suppose it's worth knowing really how it works up there. 3 already vulnerable youngsters in particular were subjected to relentless rape, wanton violence and drug taking in a dirty hovel in the city. Disgusting. I mean, they didn't kill him. That is it, you know. This included the horrific sex attack of one girl who was pinned down as some cheered, hollered, encouraged what was happening. Yeah, I mean, everybody who's there, I mean, they need flogging before they're executed as well, you know, there's just no need for it. It was also filmed with money also exchanging hands for what went on. So it was a brothel, weren't it? Paedophilic brothel. Just scum of the earth. The ordeals only emerged after the brave young victims revealed how they had suffered to a couple they got to know. Their accounts of depraved abuse Witchcraft and the slaughtering of dogs at the flat was documented and handed over to detectives. So it sounds like there's a full satanic paedophile ring going on here. The kind of thing that you get called a conspiracy theorist for talking about. This is not surprising, really. I've got a feeling that these girls are going to be very vulnerable as well. They'll probably be white working class girls. Although I doubt, and not that I would want it to be any other way, but I highly doubt that we'll find out the identity of these girls. And their identity should be protected, obviously, unless they wish to come forward at a later stage in life, you know, to try and help other people come forward in future and try and get a handle on this. But this is the weakness of our society and our civilization. You know, we've allowed the lunatic left to bring feelings and fifis into it. And no, we can't punish people hard because, you know, they have human rights. So no, when you're engaging in witchcraft and you're abusing kids and you're beating them and pinning them down and you're getting people in groups cheering and hollering while you're filming it and you slaughter. I mean, they're probably raping the dogs as well if they're going as far as slaughtering them. Let's be honest, they're probably doing everything. You know, I imagine nothing is off bounds to these people. No, they don't have rights. They're not human beings. They're not even animals. They're just the surplus to requirements at this point, and that is, I think, that is the only way to consider them. There is just absolutely no use for these people to continue stealing oxygen. You know, the wasting space in a cell for somebody who is redeemable and worth putting time and effort into. These people, nah, worm food at best. It sparked the huge police probe into the crimes. 7 men and 4 women. I mean, it's crazy that there's women involved as well. I mean, people don't think of women being involved in this, but they're just as guilty as men. I mean, something going off topic a little bit, but something I've learned recently to do with domestic violence. I think 75% of all domestic violence is what they call reciprocal, which means it's a two-way thing, and it means neither person is necessarily the primary instigator. So it just means like one day it could be the bloke hitting the woman, and the next day it could be the woman hitting the bloke. You know, like vice versa. You know, so obviously there is a disparity in strength, and I'm not trying to like justify domestic violence in any way, shape, or form. But it's just not as black and white as left-wing activists tried to make out with a lot of these things. You know, people are just awful. Not all people. I don't mean all people. Sounds like I'm saying all human beings. But I mean, I just mean anybody. You can't. The only people you can really trust are your family if you look fortunate enough to have trustworthy family. Unfortunately, to say, you know, because I would say communities, but they've been destroyed and gutted. You know, unless people start. I've said this in a few videos. Unless people start going back to churches again and getting to know the community, you don't even need to actually believe in God. Just act like God is real. You know, act like you would do if you did actually believe in God. You know, and you can't really go far wrong with that. And that includes going to church, getting involved in charitable endeavours that the church may be doing, get to know your community and build bonds and trust. I get on with all my neighbours. You know, not that we go to church, but I'm being ex-army. I'm quite proactive with getting to know people and wanting to help and do things like that. You know, I'm quite probably me autism as well a bit with that. I struggle maybe, I suppose, with not what people would see as normal social boundaries. So I don't have a problem with going up to somebody and shaking them and saying, "Hi, I'm Dave. You know, oh, I see you struggling with your fence there. Are you gay? Do you want a hand?" You know, things like, "Oh, you need a hand getting that light bulb put in your car at the front. I'll give you a hand." You know, things like that. So I know all my neighbours on my street, and they all know me. We all know each other. We give each other Christmas cards, and our kids play together, etc., etc. You know, and I feel secure when I go to work during the day that those people on the street who are retired, they watch over my property and they tell me things if I need, you know, and it's usually something of nothing. It's like, "Oh, we saw somebody knocking on your door, but I think it was a parcel guy with the wrong address or something, but he went off anyway." You know, things like that. Anyway, I'm digressing a bit, you know, They all denied any physical and sexual abuse occurred, with claims of being upset and shell-shocked at the accusation. And that's even worse. That's just pure cowardice, isn't it? If you're willing to do something so horrific, like there's a few times I've had dealings with the police. Not like I've been arrested, but whatever they've come up to with, I've just straight up to their face gone, "Yep, I did that," and then I told them why I've done it, and then they've gone, "Oh, okay, fair enough." Now, I'm not saying obviously it's anything like this. You know, it might be I've had an argument with my ex-wife, let's say, and this is just something I'm just making up here on the spot. Let's just say me and my ex-wife had an argument in the street, as some ex-partners do, and somebody from passing viewed it and rung the police because they were concerned that, you know, there might be a domestic escalation happening. Police turn up, and I always say to them, if something like that happens, yeah, we argued, and it was over X, Y, and Z reasons. I'm only a human being. I'm not infallible. it was an emotional situation. Unfortunately, in this hypothetical scenario, it did escalate. And the police go, yeah, we understand, no worries. Thanks for being honest with us. It's like, yeah, don't worry, coppers. I'd rather you come round and find nothing's happened than you not turn up and, the worst has happened. I would always much rather that. But anyway, again, I've gone off topic a bit. One even claimed she would have battered anyone she seen harming a child. Jurors today returned verdicts of the 21 charges which occurred in the city between April 2012 and June 2019. I mean, this is just part of the general grooming situation. Now, I've got a feeling here, we haven't found out who these people are, but I've got a feeling, because Scotland hasn't got much migration, these people are going to be Celts. I've got a feeling these are going to be actually Scottish people, whereas in England it's obviously been more of a diverse form of cultural enrichment we've been getting in England, unfortunately. So I do think Scotland has proportionally been getting a lot less of it, but it does obviously still happen even within the indigenous population, and my opinion is exactly the same as it is with the New Britons, quote unquote, so to speak. Kill them. Like, literally, that's the only thing that's worth doing with these people. Kill them. Ian Owens, 45, oh, there we go, was convicted of 18, including the rape of 3 children, attempted murder of 1 involving shutting her in a microwave and other kitchen appliances. Jesus Christ, sorry. Said our Lord's name in vain then. Just that shocked. The jobless addict, there we go, told you, jobless addict, meth head, that's what I said earlier, the equivalent for Americans. He'll be a heroin junkie. The jobless addict was also guilty of other sex offences and Class A drug supply. Yeah, let's have a look at this reject here. Yeah, it looks like a nonce, doesn't he? You can just tell, can't you, looking at him? He just gives off that nonce vibe, doesn't he? Elaine Lannery, 39, was convicted of the rape of the child. Among the 12 charges she was done for. Convicted of the rape of... You see, again, this is where it's different in Scotland and England, because in England, I don't believe a woman can be charged with rape, because I think rape has to be a biological phallus entering a person's body. So obviously women don't have those. Only men have those. So I don't know. I mean, I don't understand Scottish law without looking into it. If anybody does know, please comment below and let us know, because I'm actually interested to understand that law, how it works. Leslie Williams, 42, was convicted of 5 charges, including the rape of 2 girls. Paul Brannan, 40, meantime, was guilty of 7 charges, which also featured the rape of all 3 sex abuse victims. Nonce. Scott Forbes, 50, Barry Watson and John Clark, both 47, were further convicted today. Yeah, this is another one. Yeah, he just looks like a right junkie, doesn't she? Can you see? Look at the state of that. The absolute state. Forbes was found to have raped 1 girl, with Watson and Clark guilty of raping 2 of them. Mariam Geller, 39, was cleared of sex abuse, was found convicted of being part of an assault on 1 girl. Mark Carr, 50, Richard Garrican, I think, 46, and Leona Lane, 51, were meantime acquitted of the charges they faced. I mean, look at that, he's another one, isn't he? Just another wrong one. You can just tell, can't you? He might as well have it tattooed on his forehead. Well, he should have it tattooed on his forehead, really. Nonce. Gallagher was granted bail. The case mainly centred on 3 children. There's going to be a lot more than this. These are just ones to know about, especially if they're engaging in like a cult activity. There's going to be I wouldn't be surprised if there was bodies buried in the glens as well, somewhere nearby Glasgow. 2 girls and a boy. Another girl was listed in a charge, but she was not physically or sexually harmed. Jurors heard details of the victims' depressing young lives even before they were preyed upon. One in particular suffered from chronic severe head lice, described as the worst a child professional had seen in a near 40-year career. This takes me back a while. I mean, I used to be a paperboy when I was younger. It was one of my first jobs that I ever had as a kid. And it always stuck with me. There's a local paper we have called the Lancashire Evening Post here, and that's what I delivered. And this is going back years. There was a baby who'd been abused, and this is going off topic a bit, but and it's just that's reminding me saying the worst that they'd ever seen. This baby's nappy rash was so bad, and it was the worst they'd ever seen. They were having to give a baby morphine, and we're talking like a 6-month-old baby, because the baby was screaming so bad from this nappy rash. Like, the skin was apparently splitting open. I can't understand how people can do this. Like, I genuinely can't. I mean, that's not just from I mean, these people probably are low IQ. We're probably talking like sub 80 IQ here, which there's no cure for that. But that's not the reason why they're doing this, because there are plenty of low IQ people who aren't bad, terrible people. They just struggle with life, and they just need assistance. But they know the difference between right and wrong. So that is not that is not a reason for doing this. It's like I just can't understand it. There is no excusing this, even if they've been abused themselves as kids. There's not that doesn't excuse them then going on to abusing kids. It's just absolute, just as it's just evil. That is literally the only word for it. Evil. These people are literally satanic. There's no other word for it. That's what they are. They've sold their soul. Whether you believe in that literally or figuratively, that is what they've done. A number of witnesses at the trial became emotional as they recounted their dealings with some of the youngsters, describing one, a woman told jurors, at first he was a very bubbly wee boy, wee meaning small for those who don't understand. It's a cheeky, happy type of character in a harmless way. As time went on, I could see the change. He became perhaps more hyper-vigilant. That's post-traumatic stress, that. He found certain things difficult to brush off. He did not have the same bubbliness. He became quite a serious boy, almost withdrawn at points. Yep, that's absolutely classic victim that of abuse. Here's another one of the nonces. There we go. Can you see that wrong in there? Look at that. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. The behaviour of another of the older children changed from her being very friendly to a boisterous girl, tormented by what she was being subjected to. I mean, another issue with this as well is these kids may go on to become hypersexualized as well, because you learn a lot when you're young, and unfortunately, having this kind of abuse can make your affect the wiring inside your brain to where you put a value onto believing that sex is all that you're worthy of giving away to people, and it's tragic because it can destroy their ability to pair bond and have future relationships as well, because they're incapable of understanding the sanctity and the importance of intimate relationships. The youngsters suffered in silence until police were alerted in 2020. I mean, that's 8 years. That tragic. This was after a man who got to know the children reported what he had been told. Oh my God. That must have been heartbreaking to get told that, I mean, these wouldn't have been children then, obviously. They would have been adults, wouldn't they? I mean, I don't know. They could have been, actually. I mean, I suppose if this had been happening to them when they were, let's say, 5 or something, I mean, they'd still be teenagers, wouldn't they then? After 8 years. So they'd be about 15, 13 to 15, possibly, within reason, So I don't know. Because they rightly so, the newspaper doesn't give us those details. It was sparked after one of the victims became hysterical after mistakenly thought she'd been shut in a room. Oh my God, she must have had instant flashbacks. She's probably visited somebody's house, they've closed the door behind her, and she's felt like she's been locked in, and bang, she's straight back to being tormented by these monsters. Oh, that's awful. Absolutely awful. And I've got not to the same degree, but after I came back from Afghan, I remember me and my 2 African mates who I shared a room with. I've mentioned these guys before, but we were led on our beds. We'd been back literally about 24 hours, and one of the young lads on camp, he thought it'd be a funny idea. He got a bunch of firecrackers. You light them, and there's like a string of them. Go bang, bang, bang. We set them off outside our door, thinking it'd be funny. My God, I felt like you see in the cartoons when a cat goes. They jump up to the ceiling and stick to the ceiling. That's what I did. Oh my God, he came in the room laughing. I ran up to him, grabbed him by his throat, put him against the wall, because I was a big lad then. I did a lot of weights, and that when I was in the army. Pinned him up against the wall and basically said, "You effing do that again, and I'll rip your effing head off and defecate down your neck." Sorry. Oh, sorry. My God, I mean, I laugh about it now, but oh my God, at the time, I was like right back in Afghanistan, straight away like that, bang, whoa, I'm getting shot at, whoa. So I shouldn't be laughing because we're reading this story, but my God, so I can get that. I can wrap my head, and I've had it like where I've been dead weird. I remember being at a barbecue once as well at a mate's house, and it was in the summer, and he invited us around, and there was I think it was a police helicopter or something flying over, not doing anything in particular. It was still daylight, and I got a whiff of it was like the warm breeze on my face. It was all these perfect things. So it was like when you see someone in a Vietnam film and they see the helicopters flying by, and it's like he's having his nostalgia thing. It was just like that, like the warm breeze on my face, the smell of, it was like diesel. I got a whiff of diesel in the air of a diesel engine. and something just in the back of my brain just took me back to a brief moment where I was just walking off the tarmac when I first touched down. Just weird things like that just come back to you, you know. So I do get it. The man told the trial he had been driven by his conscience and principles to help with it. I fully agree. Absolutely, 110%. There's no way I could have kept my mouth shut with that either. The moment somebody's telling me that, bang, I'm straight to the police with it, you know. Absolutely. You know, at least you can say, hand on your heart, you've done everything you can. If it goes nowhere from then. Along with his wife, he painstakingly documented horrific details of what the children recalled happening at the hands of the gang. Here's another one of the nonsense as well. There you go. Look at him. Bullet in the head. Oh my goodness, I've just opened a new screen by accident. I was getting too excited telling my own anecdotes from my own past. They were said to have been rape nights, dancing sex nights, as well as dog killing nights at the Hellhole flat. It's just awful. I mean, this is all going to be fueled by drugs and that as well. One of the girls was put in an oven, as well as padlocked in a fridge and shut in a cupboard with beetles and spiders in it. These people are just absolute monsters. The same child described the flat as the dark and scary beastie house. She further stated it was not nice when people laugh at you when you are hurting. No, it's not. That's just. I mean, it's just rubbing salt into wounds. That, you know, it's just the final. I mean, these kids are going to be, whether they're going to be able to function as human beings again is highly doubtful, really. And I don't mean that to be horrible to them, and I hope they do go on to be successful and have families, but I think these are going to need support for the rest of their lives, unfortunately. What was described as a satanic coven, a mixture of witches and wizards, were also said to have got the children involved in occult practices, casting spells and turning them into animals. The young boy was also made to courier drugs on behalf of one member. Well, that obviously goes without saying, doesn't it? Couple were then told of depraved sexual abuse, much of it too graphic to explain in details at the hand of the paedophile ring. I mean, even some of this, I can't go into it too much detail, but my mum was in a jury for quite a prominent murder case in England involving a child, and there was some of the details. I believe they had to ask members of certain people to actually leave the courtroom for, and only I think only the jury and certain key people were allowed to actually hear certain evidence because it was so graphic. Anyway, on hearing them read back to him in court, the man said, "This is a nightmare in real time." And by the way, when people say, "Oh, I want to go on jury and I want to be on a murder case," you don't. You really don't. You think you do until you're on it. You don't want to be doing that sort of thing, by the way, just to anybody sort of like wishing, oh, you want to get on, if you ever get picked for jury, do your duty. You want to be on shoplifting and credit card fraud, things like that, because you're not going to see anything traumatizing. It's just going to be mundane, boring. You'll do your jury duty, go home, and you'll never think about it again. You'll tell people about it every now and again, like, oh, it was a load of rubbish. That's good jury duty. On hearing this read back to him in court, the man said, "This is a nightmare in real time. Listening to that, it's quite distressing." Absolutely. Prosecutor, I don't know how the police can protect these people, to be honest with you. It's one of the reasons why I never applied for the police after I left the army, because I actually couldn't protect nonces as part of my duty, because that's what police have to do. If you turn up to an house where you know somebody's been diddling it and it's glaringly obvious, like you catch them with the pants down, so to speak, you know, basically with the child, I couldn't not give them a good shoeing myself and then hand them over to the locals. I could not do that. And obviously, as a police officer, you can't do that. So that's why one of, not the only, but that was one of the bigger reasons why I never joined the police. Prosecutor Kath Harper asked him if the traumatised children got upset when discussing their ordeals. The witness, this is the witness speaking now, "The boy did a couple of times about things that happened, but the majority of occasions it was just very much matter of fact, like replaying it in their minds, talking it over." Yeah, well, that's a coping strategy, that, and again, that's quite normal for victims of abuse to do that, because the more they're trying to describe it like they're watching a scene on a TV, right? So they're having an out of body experience almost with it, not actually thinking about it happening to them, but to somebody else. They're sort of like compartmentalising it. Again, I'm not a psychologist, by the way, to anybody who's thinking about it. I haven't trained in psychology. It's just stuff I think I've picked up and I believe is correct. Sorry. I've still not cleared this virus shit off my chest. Sorry about that. I'm very rude of me. I think it's the China virus coming back. Among the crimes jurors heard about was one of the girls being restrained and abused by members of the ring in a disgusting room until she was injured and unconscious, all while it being recorded on camera. Well, I mean, you got the evidence there, haven't you? Again, these people just need killing. Owens was said to have received payment. The 11 all denied being paedophiles or physically harming. Well, how can you deny being a paedophile when you're on camera doing it? You know what I mean? If you did linkage, you're a nonce. You know, it's that simple. Some confessed to openly taking drugs in front of the youngsters. Ex-abattoir worker Owens claims he was upset at the accusations. His KC, that means King's Counsel, for those who don't know, which is basically people who work for the Crown Courts, like your lawyers and solicitors, so to speak, barristers. That's what they are. Put to him that there had been allegations of organised sexual abuse involving a viewing gallery and a camera with a tripod. Mr. Allen, do you understand how bad that sounds? Did anything like that happen? Owens, no. Lannery claims she would have battered anyone she saw harming children. In her closing speech, advocate depute Miss Harper said the children had been victims of a scary and confusing world. Well, I think that's the understatement of the century right there, to be honest with you. I think scary and confusing doesn't go anywhere near far. If I understand, they've got to use very select and choice language in court for reasons beyond my understanding of how the legal framework works, but I think that's highly inadequate language myself. Referring to the account by one of the girls, she told the court she was describing, as was the boy, her normal. Not a few days, weeks or months, but a significant part of her short life. So these kids are going to be young then, if they're saying short life. The boy was said to have been desensitised to what allegedly occurred. I've got a feeling this may have been a school teacher that's found all this information out. Just guessing here. It's hard to know, obviously, and again, I'll repeat again, we shouldn't know, because these sound like they're really young kids. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking like 5-year-olds here. Miss Harper stated any suggestion the claims of physical and sexual abuse being untrue meant there had been collusion and fabrication of allegations of the most monstrous kind. She added it would have been off the scale devious and deceitful, as well as highly organised. Prosecutors had withdrawn witchcraft allegations during the trial. Jurors today acquitted any of the gang of being involved in dog killing. After the verdicts were delivered, well, to be honest with you, they may have been acquitted of it and they may have withdrawn those allegations, but I just don't believe it. If you're willing to go through what they've done with these kids, then those things are just as reasonable. But with the way the courts work, it's got to be provable beyond reasonable doubt. So that is why they will not have pursued those, because there wouldn't have been sufficient evidence. But that doesn't mean that if more witnesses come forward or more victims in future, that these things could not be brought back to court again. So that may be something that could happen. The hearing was adjourned for a short spell, with Lord Beckett ordering all the gang to remain seated in the dock meantime. Despite the depravity of what had been convicted, a number of them casually chatted between themselves. So these people are just actual psychopaths then. When he returned to the bed, and I mean that in the actual clinical sense, I believe these people are probably clinically psychopathic, or definitely got dark triad traits if they're just casually chatting. When he returned to the bench, Lord Beckett told 6 of them, "You are no longer enjoying the presumption of innocence. I'm going to remand each of you in custody." Well, that's foreboding for him. Gallagher had been locked up during the trial, but she was given bail pending sentencing for all of them on January 4th next year. Prosecutors had listed in some of the charges 3 others as also of being involved in the abuse. These included wheelchair-bound amputee Robert Brown, nicknamed Nay Legs. So Nay, N-A-E, which means no legs. That's just a slang in Scotland. But Brown, along with Maureen Goody and Stephen McHenry, all died before the gang first appeared in the dock at the High Court. Lucky them. Lord Beckett went on to praise the jurors at the end of the case. Yeah, absolutely. For those jurors to sit through that, my goodness, that is some doing. Like, to go through a case like that, they are actual champions, unsung heroes, really, jurors in these cases. You know, that is awful to go through, and that's going to scar those people. They're going to take that to their graves with them. That's awful. And because they'll get if the video footage, and that'll get played in court as well. You know, so they're going to have to view all that because it's evidence, and that's just who wants to be watching kids getting diddled? You know, like, what same person wants to see that? You know, this kind of abuse, awful. He said, "Can I thank you for serving in this long and harrowing trial featuring the most distressing of evidence?" You know what? Hats off to the judge for that, because he doesn't have to say that to him. So, and I know it doesn't help. I know it doesn't fix what they've had to go through, and even him. I mean, the judge might have gone through multiple cases like this, but even he's a human being, you know. And my God, these people to go through this crap, you know, that's a thankless job. That I wouldn't want to do that, you know. That's just awful. You know, I mean, I've slated judges in some of my videos, but my goodness, you know, I mean, it's like the police in it. You know, we hate them when they do things wrong, but we don't really say much when they do things right. So we do need to acknowledge that when these people are getting these jobs right, you know, we've got to doff our heads to and be like, my goodness, you're a better person than me for being able to do that. You know, not losing your mind. You know, not going insane yourself from it. Our system demands a lot of those who serve in juries, but the burden is rarely higher than a case of this type, which has taken up so much of your time. You have responded magnificently. He said it must have often been demoralising and unpleasant having to listen to what they had heard. The judge stated a counselling service was available to the men and women who had been excused from further jury service for life. Yeah, they should never ever be doing jury service again. This has gone on for half an hour now, this video. It's been quite a long one, although because of the severity of that case I did want to take it to the end. I'm going to leave it at that. If you've found this video informative, or it's been something not so much not enjoyed it, but it's been worthwhile listening to, could you please like, subscribe, and give me a comment below, because it helps get these sort of stories out to other people as well, and get this kind of information and passed around to other people as well. Thank you very much for sitting through that. I know it was quite a horrific story, this one, but I think and I do think it was an important one, even though it's over a month old. Take care now. Bye bye.